Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Andina Yulianti from 3B.
Hello everyone, let me to introduce myself. My name is Irvania Pramuswari from semester 3B and happy enjoy this video.
Hello, my name is Tarisya Dinda Oktaviani from 3B. Basic component of organization. The organizing function is basically a continuation of the planning function. In organizing process, manager allocate all organizational resources according to plans that haven't been made based on a specific original framework. This original framework is referred to as an original design. The specific form of the original framework is called the organizational structure. Organizational structure is basically an organizational design in which managers allocate organizational resources, especially to those related to the definition of labor and resources owned by the organization and how the overall work can be coordinated and communicated. If in the planning function goals and plans are determined, in organizing the plan is it derived into a certain division of labor in a organizational structure in which there is clarity on how the organizational plan will be implemented, coordinated, and communicated.
The four organizing pillars. As stated by Stoner, Freeman, and Gilbert 1995, there are four pillars that are the basis for carrying on the organizational process. The four pillars are division of labor, grouping of work, determining the relationship between parts of the organization, and determining the integration mechanism, activities between parts of the organization, or coordination. First pillar, division of labor, in planning various activities or jobs for the achievement of certain goals. They have been determined. All activities and work that have been planned need to be simplified in order to simplify their implementation. The attempt to simplify all activities and work which may be complex to be simpler and more specific is called that each person will be assigned to each of these simple and specific activities is called the division is labor. For example, in the restaurant business, the division of labor can be in the form of division of kitchen work, customer service at the dining table, cashiers, and so on. Sometimes this division of labor is also called the division of labor. However, currently the use of division of labor is more widely used because basically what is divided is work, not the person. The communities, the parties assigned or appointed for each work that has been divided. The process of division of labor from the whole to be more specific or simple and more detailed is also called job or job specialization. All jobs are derived or divided based on certain more specific criteria. Second pillar, departmentalization. Once the jobs are determined, they are grouped according to a certain similar criteria. For example, for a restaurant hierarchy, menu recording, menu notification to the kitchen section, the food delivery from the kitchen section to customers and the dining table can be grouped into one particular department, say the servant part. As for receipts, for payment receipts, records at the cashier, recording receipts, and disbursements of money can be grouped into the financial section or section, for example, as well as for other types of BAS. The process of grouping and planting parts or groups of jobs according to certain criteria is called departmentalization.
The third pillar, the determination of the relation between the part in the organization hierarchy after jobs are grouped or departmental. We may wonder how many jobs need to be grouped for each section or department, and then how many new groups of people are there under a section of department. We might ask whether for each department, finance, service, and kitchen, there are other sections, or are there any other section beside the department or the section above? Who is the boss or leader for each of these departments? This question leads you to the third party of the organizing process, namely the process of determining hierarchies or relationship between parts of the organization. There are two important concepts in the process of determining this hierarchy, namely the span of management control and the chain of command. The range of management control relates to the number or section under a department of a department that will be responsible to a particular department or section. For example, if we go back to using the restaurant business example above, perhaps we can ask further, are there any sections above the three department or section? Or else in there a section under each department? If there are, how many parts of how many people? If the determination of span of management control or hierarchical determination has been determined, then the next step is to determine the chain of command, which explains how the limits of authority are met and who and which department will report to which part. Chain of command also the line of command in an organization from the highest hierarchy, for example the lowest hierarchy. Limit of authority, which part will be responsible to other section, as well as the command line from the top hierarchy to the lower hierarchy. For example, servant 1, plan 2, and servant 3 have limited authority in work in the service department and are not authorized to do work in the finance or kitchen department, and each servant is responsible to the head of service. Likewise, for other departments, the finance, service, and kitchen department are responsible to the head of the restaurant regarding various tasks or jobs that are their responsibility and authority. In determining organizational hierarchies through determining span of management, control, and chain of command, management needs to consider whether to use horizontal or vertical types or hierarchies. Horizontal hierarchy is a form of organizational structure where many parts of the organization are sidewise and minimize the number of sections or departments. The vertical hierarchy minimizes the part of the organization sidewise horizontally and multiplies part or department vertically. In a vertical hierarchy, each part has relatively limited authority and responsibility in certain parts that have been determined, and many responsibilities in the organization tend to be delegated to the lower part. Likewise, for each section below, the advantage of this vertical hierarchy is that the person in charge in each department or division is not burdened with too many departments or many parts. So, that in terms of coordination, it can be done relatively quickly because there are relatively few coordinate parts. However, this hierarchical form has weakness in terms of overall decision making. To be able to make decisions for the entire organization from the bottom of the organization, for example, will require a relatively long process because, for example, the problem arises from having G and takes order of the organization so that A needs to make a decision. This decision making will let's go through the steps, namely the issue of G will be decided in D, and then from D will be decided on C, and finally it will be decided in A. The second form of this its kind today is a horizontal hierarchy in which a portion of the organization is structured horizontally stepwise, meaning that for an organization the vertical parts are not made to this advance and forms cover the limitation or weakness of the vertical hierarchy. Decision making in the horizontal hierarchy can be done faster because the process of identifying the problem is relatively shorter in time compared to the vertical form because in the horizontal hierarchy there are not too many levels of the hierarchy. But its decision making is also not necessarily done faster if the coordinating part or part horizontally do not have the capability or ability to coordinate relatively more substantial. The inability of superiors to coordinate horizontal subsection in turn will also slow down decision making departing from this fact that it can be said that for horizontal hierarchy, the ability and capability of the leader is needed when in hierarchy, vertical limitation of the ability and capability of the leader can be anticipated through research to some of them in reality. This form of hierarchy is very conditional, meaning that it depends on various internal and external factors faced by the organization. Fourth pillar, coordination. The final pillar of the organizing process is coordination. After the work is divided, the parts are determined until the organizational hierarchy is determined. Then the next step is how to make the division of labor that has been carried out along with determining the organizational design run effectively and efficiently. This is where the role of coordination is needed as the last pillar of organizing. Coordination, as according to Stoner, Freeman, and Gilbert, is basically the process of integrating the activities of disparate departments in order to pursue organizational goals. Effectively, coordination is the process of integrating all activities from various departments or parts of the organization so that organizational goals can be achieved effectively. Without coordination, various activities carried out in every part of the organizational will not be directional and tend to only carry the mission of its part. It is feared that not coordinating its session in the next turn will actually hinder the organizational from achieving its goals. One of the its example of coordination is between marketing and finance in order to increase sales level. The marketing department prefers to increase promotional costs. On the other hand, the finance department notes that company costs should be streamlined. If the marketing department and the finance department do not coordinate, it can be imagined that there will be a conflict of interest between the division. Even though the two parts actually have good intention for the company interests, by increasing the cost of the promotion, The marketing department expects sales to increase. On the other hand, by minimizing costs, efficiency can be improved. If the two parts do not coordinate, for example, the finance department determines the maximum limit of increased power for promotion, then it can be expected that the interests of the two parts will not fully work. In the interests of the two parts running, the interests of internationalization will also not work. In the end, organizational goals will also not be achieved effectively.
Factors achieving organizational structure. As previously noted, organizational design and structure are highly social. There are four factors that influence that organizational structure, namely 1. Organizational strategy. Based on this understanding, change that occurred in organizational strategy will also have an impact on changes in organizational structure. Change that occur in the organizational structure thus imply a change in organizational strategy. 2. Organizational scale. 3. Technology. 4. Environment.